Thanks for the presentation. It was really enlightening and good. Thank you. I wanted to ask about those market modifiers. We had a little bit of a discussion internally which programs go forward. And will that discussion happen again? Will we talk more? Will we submit more? Will the government allow us to submit other ones down the road?
Maybe I'll start, Drew, and then you can kick in. I think, so Florentine, this is at the call of government. So last year, you would have recalled that the government opened the opportunity for us to submit proposals for market modifiers. Really, it's the government's call. It's not currently an ongoing program. That would, I assume, be part of the consultation moving forward, but really the government triggers the opportunity for us to put proposals forward for market modifiers.
And I think that will be part of the broad discussion on tuition that the government is going to have shortly.
I know we have a question from one of our online viewers, so maybe Bruce will ask you to pose that.
Sure. We've actually got a few questions now. They're starting to come in. The first one's from Laurie Matheson in the Faculty of Nursing. She wants to know what our plan is to communicate the actual budget numbers once the budget's been approved for 2015-16.
Thank you very much. So normally what we do is after it is approved by the Board of Governors, we do send out communication to campus, usually through a U Today story, just so you have the complete details of what actually was approved. A lot of it, of course, won't look very different from what you've seen today, but there will be formal communication to campus after approval. Did you want another online?
Sure. This one here is from Kin Wong. Not sure what office she's in. There are so many things that we can do to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of what we do, and this would help the fiscal bottom line. What mechanisms are available to groups to ensure money is not wasted? We frequently do not have the opportunity to provide input at the right time, if at all.
I'm going to turn that to Linda.
The process that we're using this year is to try to get lots of information in advance from the community. And I would say our budget model over the past number of years speaks for itself in many ways. We've managed to balance the books when others have not been able to do so. We are constantly looking at ways to ensure that money is not wasted. Quite frankly, in this day and age, we can't afford to be able to do that.
And I'd just like to add that the process that Drew laid out is about consultation. Drew talked about local and internal in the community. And it's really incumbent on all of us, if we have good ideas, to make sure we raise them within our portfolios and our leadership to get those ideas on the table. So I think the encouragement to everyone who is part of this process, and that is all of us in the institution, need to be part of that process and take those opportunities.
And I'm just going to expand that because I don't think we need to be under budgetary pressures to always try to be creative as we can around efficiencies. I think everyone, regardless of what your role is in the institution, is to look at the resources in your team or that you manage and try to be as efficient as possible. We are stewards of public funds, so I know that certainly we want to be very careful of the usage of those funds, and it starts with the groups that we're in. It's always easy to criticize, well, if that group over there only did X, Y, Z, we'd be a lot better off. Look in your own group, have the conversations, and certainly, whether we're in tough budget times or not, let's always look at how we make best use of the precious dollars that are entrusted to us as an institution.
One other thing that I would add, we talked about taking a 2% cut at the level of the vice presidents. I think it's probably important for me to say, because you might not know this otherwise, in the academic portfolio, we actually took a 12% cut in my office and a 1.3% cut in many, but not all of the faculties. In fact, we differentiated that cut, and in some faculties we gave a 0% cut because we thought it was important relative to where the budget was at this point in time. So we're taking cuts where we think cuts can be made, still very, very painful, I would say, but important for the money to be where it needs to be.
And I'm just going to also add, one of the things when we talk to government and we show data around the needs of the University of Calgary and the City of Calgary for more access to post-secondary. We know there's a lot of pressure of students trying to get into our programs. We really talk about the work we're doing as a university community to manage our resources responsibly. And what we tell government is every new dollar they put into the University of Calgary is a dollar of opportunity. It can be allocated, whether it's to new students coming in, if it's capital dollars to new construction or renovation, or hiring of new faculty, whatever the case may be. So it's an investment in the University of Calgary. It's not a dollar to get us out of a problem that we could not get ourselves out of. And that's a really important message to government, that we as a community are willing to work together to find the solutions to set us up for long-term success. Brian.
For next year, you hinted that the 2.7% cut might be differential. Do you have any idea how that'll play out across small, medium, and large institutions?
We're waiting to hear.
We don't anticipate any communication until the new government is formed and we have our new minister or continuing minister, whatever the case may be, and I think conversations will pick up at that time. Any other questions? Any other online questions?
Yeah, we still have a couple online. This one's from Laurie Kelly in Information Technologies. She wants to know whether or not there's a delay to the comprehensive institutional plan, which we generally make available in May.
So there has been a delay because of the budget delay, and the full document will go forward to the board next week, actually, April 28th, which we are hoping is approved and recommended, and we will submit to the government in early May.
And we would generally make that public, I think,
We
at that
would.
time, put it on the website and everything
Yeah.
else. Anything else from online, Bruce?
Yeah, we have one from Laura Baird in the Department of Geoscience. She said, thank you for the presentation. Would you happen to know what the merit increase is for MAPS this year? AUP have already received their 3.25% merit increase, and their raise is being negotiated. TUCFA has the opportunity to get both a merit and a raise, but MAPS only get a non-negotiated merit increase, which is tied to the budget.
Thank you. That's a great question. Given the delay of the budget announcement from the government, it was at the very end of March, we're right now just evaluating the MAPS compensation, both across the board and merit. So I can't say what it would be or what the timing would be, but I do want to assure any MAPS people that are either in the room or listening online or watching online that this is something that we're looking at, and we will make sure that we communicate in due course when those decisions are made.
Sarah?
Thank you. So knowing that at some point we're going to be discussing the tuition cap, I'm curious from the administration's perspective, what would be the ideal when it comes to tuition cap? What would that be?
Well, I'll start at a high level. You know, as an institution, and you saw some of the numbers, sort of where revenue is generated for the institution, and tuition is a significant portion of it, but of the overall consolidated budget, you know, it's 23-24%, I believe, is the
Operating,
of the operating. Sorry. So what we look for in a global sense is sustainable, predictable funding, because anytime you see fluctuations in the total pot, obviously that has impact on what we can do. So sustainable, predictable funding is what we talk to government about. Up to this point, as was noted, the tuition is tied to the Consumer Price Index, and we get notification each year what that is, and certainly consult with our students accordingly. Going out, there's many different models that could be used for that. One of them I know Drew talks about is the Higher Education Price Index, the HEPI, which is one, but we don't have a firm position on what that could be. I mean, a lot of it ties to the basket of funding that we're looking for that in itself needs to be sustainable and predictable. Any other online questions?
Yes, we have one from David Hall. He's an associate professor in the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. He says, thanks for the presentation. Enrollment in distance education is growing rapidly in Canadian post-secondary institutions. At Memorial University, for example, online courses account for 40% of all graduate course registrations. At the University of Waterloo, enrollment in online graduate education has tripled from 2009 to 2013. Does the University of Calgary see this as an area for significant net income potential? And is there a plan to expand online graduate education?
Thanks for that question. We had a significant discussion about this during the Learning Technologies Task Force, and that report was released last year. One of the things that we really have to consider here is our IT infrastructure, which we are doing significant amount of work on, but definitely the plan going forward, once that is set, would be to look very carefully at this. We were surprised, I would say, as a committee, at the amount of online education that is already happening here. We have a full degree at the undergrad level in social work and a full degree at the graduate level in education that are fully online. This is something, when we talked about the pedagogical model, for example, being something that might allow us to take more students in a cost-effective manner. What we've determined in all the analysis that we've done is online education is not necessarily less expensive. In fact, in some cases it's more expensive, but certainly it's something that we are considering.
I'll open it up to any additional questions. We have no more online right now, but we again have 2 microphones in the room here for any final comments or questions that you may have for any one of us. Seeing none, we will all stick around. If there are individual comments or questions you want to pose to us, by all means, come to the front and we can engage with you. Again, I want to thank Linda and Drew for today's presentation. Thank you to the Provost's Office and ComMedia for assisting in the live streaming. And thanks to all of you for being here today, being interested in the future of the university. Again, we'll be communicating once we get through the board with the budget and the comprehensive institutional plan, and of course as part of the ongoing consultation process to make sure that the University of Calgary stays strong, stays on our Eyes High journey, and uses the resources that we have to the maximum impact of our community. So with that, have a wonderful day. Thank you.